Over the past 2 decades, we've seen overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE, rise in prominence as the uniform metric to measure the performance of a manufacturing process relative to its theoretical potential. And unfortunately, OEE has come to be viewed as a bit of a report card for manufacturing. So if you're at 85% OEE, that might be considered an A. If you're at 75%, that's more like a B. 60%, that's more like a C, and then anything less than that is considered poor performance. But in reality, there are many benign reasons why one manufacturing process will have a higher or lower OEE than another. Everything from their relative scale to differences in process complexity and differences in business maturity. But when you start to view OEE as a report card, it creates this perverse incentive to massage the OEE calculation to make it look as favorable as possible. This is totally counterproductive. It hides opportunities to improve, and it sends the message that the opportunity to improve is a bad thing, that it shouldn't be acknowledged and must remain hidden. It will totally kill your efforts at continuous improvement or operational excellence. If you're worried at all about your OEE calculation, I'm going to share with you the most common ways that the calculation is corrupted in an effort to make OEE look more favorable than reality. The first and by far most common way is to accept the idea that 85% OEE, the level considered to be world-class performance, is the best you can do. 100% is the best you can possibly do, and these final 15 percentage points should be viewed as an opportunity rather than being written off at the outset. Next is when quality defects are reworked manually and returned to the process. The quality component of OEE is supposed to be based on first pass quality, but in some manufacturing processes, this isn't measured very well, and defective units that can be reworked quickly make it into the numerator rather than the denominator of the first pass quality percentage. Next is the uptime calculation. This can be manipulated by backing time out of the denominator when the process is crewed for production. This can include things like sanitation or changeovers that take longer than expected and run over into crewed time. It also includes so-called unusual events that the plant feels it could never have prevented, and so feels justified in backing the time out of the calculation. Things like raw materials not turning up when expected, for example. Anytime the process is crewed for production should be part of the denominator of the uptime calculation. The final opportunity to inflate your OEE is in how the slow running portion of the calculation is performed. The single biggest consideration in setting up your OEE metric is determining the theoretical maximum speed that the process can run at. Unlike quality and uptime, each of which have an obvious, indisputable theoretical limit, process speed doesn't. As a result, great care is required when deriving the Tmax speed in your OEE calculation. What often happens is that the speed the process typically runs at is taken to be the theoretical maximum, using the rationale that, well, if we could run it any faster, we'd be doing it already. Instead, the theoretical maximum speed should be viewed as the speed the process could run at if all speed-related problems and limitations were solved permanently. Now, not having yet solved them all, this point may be difficult to determine, but the manufacturer's rated speed for a piece of equipment should be taken as the bare minimum in deriving the theoretical maximum. In many cases, when the manufacturer's rated speed is a suspiciously round number, there are opportunities to safely and reliably exceed the rated speed for a piece of equipment as well. When enough of these OEE inflations have occurred, you may find that what was thought to be a process at 75% OEE is actually more like 50% OEE, or maybe even as low as 25% in some cases. Now to reiterate, I don't view OEE as a report card where 75% is good and 25% is bad. In fact, all else being equal, if it were my business, I'd prefer being faced with a lower OEE than a higher one, because it means there's more opportunity available to improve the business, to serve more customers, and to reduce costs. With that, I wish you all the best in setting up your OEE metric and in utilizing it to get the most out of your manufacturing footprint. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any feedback or questions.